Welcome to the Town of Darien Sewer Commission regular meeting agenda of Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. It is 4:34 p.m. In room 206 of Town Hall. The first item on the agenda are the approval of the minutes of the May 7th meeting.
Actually, maybe it is in here. It is in here, I'll have to ask.
Okay.
Now.
Sounds like a
Ed,
good time.
I don't understand how there could be a lateral obstructing the camera. A lateral is, to me,
Which
is
item are you talking about?
number 5.
Number 5.
A lateral
Separated
is,
open
you have the
detail.
main, and then the lateral would be my pencil.
Yeah, there was a lateral obstruction on the camera.
Vertically, or what? There was?
It was protruding into the main.
Push down through the top of the pipe into the main.
So it could have been a chimney connection
That collapsed.
and
Yeah.
the pressure pushed
The
it
pressure
down.
from the soils will push it down slowly over the years.
Do
where
we
did
know
it go?
where it was connected to? I mean,
I
that
didn't understand that at all.
may be going to nowhere now.
It could be, but now it's gone.
No, what I mean is, if it came from Building A, Building A may no longer be connected to the sewer system,
Correct.
and it may be exfiltrating.
Oh, like if the lateral connection isn't
If it's
in good
gone,
condition.
Yes.
and it can't get from Building A to the main, because the pipe's no longer there,
Okay.
we need,
Are we
don't we
looking
need
at-
to find out if
Fell
that's the
down.
situation?
Well, where
It's
did
like
it
we're
go?
Planet
What do you
Pizzas,
mean, where did it go? It fell
and the pipe
pieces
was
of
lined
pipe.
and they
Fell.
reopened
Second
it.
time I-
Okay.
It
So-
was gone.
Really?
Probably
Did
active.
it just
Let me ask.
disintegrate?
I don't think the buildings
The
down there have
obstruction
changed.
is gone, which appeared in, so we videoed it, and it appeared as though the pipe was penetrating the,
Well, it appeared enough so that we couldn't get the camera by.
Something jammed up the camera.
But now we can get the camera by,
Huh.
and it's not there. My
Would it-
thinking is whatever pipe that was there has broken off and gone.
But what I'm saying is that may sever the connection between the main and the lateral.
Going where?
Right, that was,
well, I guess,
It may have.
if I could, I understand the line of question now. So should we figure out, if we can, because usually when you video, you have a length to obstruction, right? We could figure out which lateral it was
Mhm.
and determine if it's likely that there's a building that should be connected to it.
Or there used to be a building that maybe was connected to it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least understanding where it is and where it would have been.
And I know we have it tied down, I know we have the lateral length to it.
Yeah.
But with all the other things going on, that wasn't a top priority for me.
Yeah.
But it will be something I'll look into then. But it's down 14 feet.
Oof.
Well, we can just dye test and, make
Oh,
sure
yeah,
the
we can-
dye makes the main.
We could video the lateral if we,
If we
find out which one it
can,
is.
we need to find it.
Yeah. All right, so it's on the list as something that needs more resolution.
And if they observed, and I don't think they did, any type of infiltration around that lateral of any kind,
Yeah,
we'd maybe go in there and put a short liner over the top of it to seal it.
yeah.
But again, not anything that raised to the level of the top 3 priorities that we have.
Unless it dropped back down.
We may go on video in a couple of months and it's back down again. It's a floating lateral. I'm guessing it was capped off when they demoed the
No,
houses that were
it's
over
being
there,
funny.
where the parking lot is.
No floating lateral.
okay, now you're talking to a novice here.
We're in item 5 of the minutes.
I just want, page 3.
With further explanation, it appears as though item 5 is drafted correctly, as mystifying as it is.
Yes.
Yep.
I had just one little nit on page 3, computations and analysis. It's computations and analysis.
Right,
It's the very top of the page.
and indeed, the first sentence should be, item was presented.
sand? Yeah, it should be computations and, I
Yeah.
think.
And then under D,
Yeah.
we are asking for a third word, item was presented
Oh, yeah,
versus
present.
present.
Oh, good for
At
you.
last,
If this is all we're doing, we're in good shape.
yeah, those are the two I saw.
Then I have Vicky Ricardo, who was amazing at tonight.
She was good.
Presented.
Presented at sewer commission meeting.
We have a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Approved as amended. Second is Susan. Any further discussion? 1, 2.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, minutes are approved. All right, we have a sewer user fee appeal, discussion and action for 18 Archer Lane. Mr. Dan Kunitz is in the audience if we have questions for him, but I thought, yet again, staff has done a pretty good job of presenting the appeal.
Excellent job.
Just one quick question, Dan, is there any chance there may be a sump pump connected to our sewer in your house? Archer's wet, there's
No.
a stream that runs through.
There is, yeah, no, because 19 where I live, there is a stream, no, 18's pretty dry.
Okay.
There's no sump pump, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool, yeah, because that's come up as one of our biggest
I
problems.
wonder if we should ask people coming for appeals.
We're gonna do a lot more than that, I think.
We were just
got-
curious to see if any, maybe water was going into the sewer at all from the house?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
curious.
Yeah,
Which would be illegal.
right,
Yes.
and you know that, and you're probably one of
Well, no.
10% that
Yeah,
might know
okay, I
that.
see.
2%.
In our system. We do not want clean groundwater or stormwater in our system.
Oh, I got you. No, I have a sump pump, but it goes
To the yard.
outside. To the yard, yeah.
Cool,
Anyway, that's not why we're here, right?
That's not why we're here. Thank
That's
you for
okay.
running.
throwing it in there.
And that's
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure.
I would
Motion
make the
yeah.
motion that we accept staff's recommendation that we reimburse Mr. Kunitz $403.42 and charge him the minimum.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, Reese first, Peters seconds. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed to the motion? All those abstaining from the motion? 4-1. All right,
I'm done.
you're done.
Yeah, it's easy, huh?
And then what happens?
You get your money back.
Get the money
They'll
back.
figure that out.
Got to go through the process.
All right, thanks. Bye.
And just a note, you had 6 months out of the billing period that had 0 water usage.
Yeah, but what happens next year? So you lose out
Capiche?
twice.
Capiche? I know.
Deal with it next year.
But we don't.
Do we have to speak Italian now?
Well, we do. We do deal with it.
No, we don't. We use this year's usage for next year's bill. So you lose out twice. We lost out this year, and then next year we'll lose out again.
But I,
Or
It
the
lags.
sewer fund will lose out twice.
It lags.
right, we know that, but I thought I mean, in my mind, if people are coming into a property where the prior owner had a lot more people, and this is only 2 people, we let them saying, okay, we understand. And I know we don't go back and collect from the other people, I get that part. That's why we have the spreadsheet that tells us how much are we actually giving.
Yeah, giving
Oh.
away.
And that's
It's not
fine.
much.
I'm just voicing my opinion.
No, no, that's
That's
okay.
cool, that's cool.
It's
But I
cool.
mean, if
Yeah,
they.
you're right, too.
Next year, if there are only 2 and they're using less, it'll show,
Yeah.
I think.
I was just saying, that was why I thought we were,
If it does.
why I vote.
I viewed that totally differently than I just moved in. It was like they're doing renovations.
little bit of
using
both.
Almost nothing, like a disconnect.
There's a little bit of
So
both,
close.
yeah.
The outside toilet,
Oh, yeah.
we're not using the toilet in the house. So that's how I got there on that one. Because I don't like that. We just moved here and we
No, you
have,
don't.
0 kids and, because I'm
If
with
they did-
you.
If they did a demo and fully disconnected,
Yeah.
then we would give them a credit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I came out on this one.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Because they have the ability to use it.
True. Yeah,
Yep.
true. Yep.
All right, so we appreciate the discussion and different points of view. Item 4, Sedgwick at Old Kings Highway North manhole, SSO. Okay, so we have an email in the last packet. Is it in this one?
Yeah.
This one.
It's in this one too?
Yeah, it's slightly out of order.
Okay.
Near the end.
You make me work. There it is, 4, 1 of 2. So this is the manhole at the intersection of Sedgwick and Mechanic and Old Kings Highway in front of Good Vibes, which we have observed a couple of times over the last 6 or 8 months, surcharging. And we asked if we could do anything about it sooner than later. And this was Lindsay's response, which is effectively, there's a lot of stuff we're doing in phase 3 that will benefit this spot. And there may be stuff we can tack to the end of phase 2 as we uncover it with our CCTV program. Is that a good summary in your mind, Ed, or is that?
There's also a lot of the work in phase 2 originally contracted is going to impact this also because of the connection at the Boston Post
At the
Road.
Post Road, so as a backwater.
So there's three pieces, right? There's the original Phase 2 contract, that's going to have some impact. The additional things that we can tack on as we are finding them, and we have included them and added on in Phase 2, plus whatever we can do in Phase 3. Because this sewer shed is part of Phase 3.
Yeah.
So there's 3 points of,
There was a fourth point that I was making, which is that moving forward, I want to know how they're quantifying RDII in their capacity studies. And that was part of my reaching back out to Lindsay to say, what was the RDII number when you gave the glowing capacity study? How did you figure it? Remember I brought in the EPA guidelines, which do have substantive pieces to it, and there was one state, and it was 3-something of inch storm, and you said that was that one, and you said it was excessive in your mind.
yeah.
But that's back from 2008, and we've had Mr., this fellow who wrote the letter from the RTM. He came in and at one point came in and mentioned to us that the EPC is updating their wetlands maps because the level of precipitation is up. So I think with all of those different pieces, we should also be looking at rainfall-derived precipitation. And we should know in the capacity studies how they're calculating it, because I don't know, and I don't see it.
Well, so the capacity study that was done for this was based on the 2020 flow metering data, and the 2020 flow metering data was done during a period of high groundwater, and it captured several rainfall events, including a 1.8-inch rainfall event. So that was the INI and RDII captured as a part of the study, which was the basis for the Seven Sedgwick capacity analysis. So that's what was done. So
Right.
they
And
did
my
say
point-
this is what we did.
And my point is that that's not enough, because we know we are having more rain, and we are having larger rain events than 1 point whatever inches that you just mentioned. And in Wisconsin, one of the states, Michigan, one of the states that was mentioned in there, they are looking at least a 3.1-inch storm when they're doing their capacity studies. Like, we know we're going to have more rain, and I just don't know where they're putting it into their numbers. It doesn't seem appropriate to me for them to simply use whatever rainfall happened in their little narrow window of looking at flow metering.
I think, so we have our own regs, and our own regs point to TR16, which is the New England standard. CTDEP doesn't say anything about, you gotta be here, you gotta be here, you gotta look at this or that, so it's a good conversation to have. But all of those state regs are basically saying, if you're finding that you've got a lot of INI, you need to fix it. That's what all of the state regs are designed to do. And that's what we're doing. So in the sense that our system is aging and maybe getting leakier, at the same time that we are seeing increased rainfall, which is making the leakier system leakier still, then it's compelling us to act and get rid of the clean water in the system, which is what we're doing and going to be doing for a very long time.
Right, but we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We want to approve these developments before we've actually decreased the INI, correct?
Well, I guess, to me, you don't know whether or not a development could potentially have a positive impact, right? So that's like saying to a developer, put your stormwater controls in first before you apply, right?
No, I don't see
Put
it
your
that way at
traffic
all.
improvements in
You
first.
can't come in and do a stormwater evaluation and say, well, we haven't had any rain in this narrow period, and so therefore we're only going to design it to this storm level. You have to design it to the rain events that you're anticipating.
There's other things that you can look at. There are.
Okay.
See, Craig, I'm going to go back a little bit, and everything that you said is true, but it's the first question I asked Arcadis. How much of this is sump pumps, and how much of this is bad systems? We can fix our system, and it could be perfect, and it might not do the 50% we were sort of thinking. and I'm gonna go into this a little bit in the weeds. What we really looked at was the manhole in the post road that converged.
we didn't
And
look
not
up here.
in front of,
Yeah.
and the sewer shed, sub-sewer shed that is where this development was, on Sedgwick, to me, seems like a lot of houses that were built in the 50s and have been vastly improved over the years, all up Brookside and that watershed that coincides with this sewer shed, that suggests to me that there's a massive amount of sump pumps contributing to this problem that might not have been picked up on the flow data based on just a rain event. It may be more of a groundwater event and a rain event. Do you see where I'm going? Subsurface conditions versus coming from the sky.
Yeah.
And there's other things going on.
Yeah.
But it suggests to me that that sub-sewer shed has a massive amount of problems that aren't necessarily related to our infrastructure, but are more related to people abusing our infrastructure.
Well, we don't know, you're right, we don't know the component, the sump pump contribution at this point, and we probably won't have a really tight sense, right? We're gonna do phase 2 this year, we're gonna do phase 3 next year, and then I'm hoping we're gonna go back out and selectively meter some stuff in the spring of 2026 and get our results of the $5 million we're spending on I-9.
But we do have a sense from Cameron.
Ours versus.
We have a
Yeah.
sense from Cameron how bad our system is and isn't. And my gut feeling tells me that a lot more is coming from the homeowners. And we can't stop that unless we find a way,
Well, so let's take this is the Mechanic Street sewer shed, like you said, it's Birch and Point of
Yeah.
Woods and Watchtower, yada, yada.
tons of swampy land that got built and then rebuilt again.
With basements.
So-
50s houses that are now 10,000 square feet.
9-foot
So
basements.
let's say we go
Everyone
Not
needs a
always,
9
not
foot-
always. Sometimes
Well,
they use the old basements. They want it buffed out and they're,
So let's say we go and do all of our improvements, right? We line these red and orange and yellow pipes. We fix the red, orange, and yellow manholes. And we flow meter and we're still having a problem, right? So then we're at the point of, okay, we're taking pretty good care of our system. Now it's time to really go after the
Well,
system.
I'm
So
saying-
this could be the case study for.
no, I'm saying
what
the
are we gonna do
times,
about
the
it?
times now. We
Okay.
start thinking about that. We start finding a way to either find
So
contractors
we have
and
we have a problem
homeowners.
right here, and we need to fix it sooner than later, so we need to start looking here.
We have a problem right here that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And we had two engineers and one said it was gray and one said it was black. And I'm like, And I'm not saying that their math was wrong or their methodology was wrong, but this is weird. It's more faith than science, okay? What's going on there? And to me.
So are you suggesting you start developing a policy? Because what we have
Yes.
to do is access the houses.
Nope,
look
no,
for
we
sump
don't.
pumps.
We could do it at point of sale. We could start looking at, if you get caught finding a contractor who hooked it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's specialist basement people that do remediation for water from basements. They're licensed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a violation of the plumbing code.
Yeah.
And I don't think we want our building department being the traffic cop, but we could do a mandatory cameraing at point of sale.
So we talked about this last.
I know it's
Last April, actually.
draconian.
We had a whole bunch of examples of like sump pump programs we looked at about
Right.
13 months ago.
Mhm.
So you're saying it's time to have that conversation again because we might want to start applying it to this.
No, I'm saying that we're spending millions of dollars and we're looking at whether or not development can occur. And to me, my gut feeling is the greatest problem is sump pumps that run 24/7. And we're not gonna catch that this way. We're not gonna solve it. We're gonna spend millions of dollars and be 10% better, 5% better, not 50% better, like was sort of hypothesized. Do you see where I'm going?
I don't think we know.
Well,
The
that's-
results yet.
But that's what I'm saying. We don't know, so why are we putting more strain on the system?
Well,
Since we don't know.
We have, well, the answer is we are doing work to improve it. And the engineering company that we hired to prepare the SSES, which is like a ridiculous 2,000-page document, said we think we can get this much out of the system based on the
Yeah.
leaks that we found and that we're gonna repair.
Without any caveats? I mean, I didn't read that 2,000-page document, but there were no, as long as this, as long as this, as long as this.
There was an estimate, and it's based on, so they look at literally every leak. They classify every leak as like a
Volume.
drip, a stream, a gush, and there's criteria that they follow. and then they add up all the stuff that they're gonna fix. They take 75% of that value, and that is what comes out as their estimate of I&I removal. So they have a methodology to make the estimate. You know,
Are they basing it on their flow report studies that they received when they did their monitoring?
yeah.
So if we didn't have a
Well,
lot of
actually,
rain,
no,
then.
the answer to that is actually no. The flow study determined where the big picture problem areas were. So you took these 9 sub-sewer sheds and said, does this have a lot of I&I or not, based on the rainfall and the time of year and what we're seeing?
And the user.
And then they went out and did manhole by manhole inspections to see, well, there's kind of a weird amount more water in this manhole than there was in the last one, so there's a problem here. And then they would video some of those sections. They would do smoke testing. So actually, their pictures of leaks are from field investigations, when it wasn't really raining.
The sewer system evaluation survey report, is that the SSES?
Yeah.
Okay, in 2021, when they did their initial evaluation, they noted that the force main at this pump station here on Stony Brook had a high priority of a conditions assessment. It was built in the 30s. I don't know if it's had any work done to it since the 30s, but was that done? Was the conditions assessment of the force main done?
No.
And is it going to be done? I mean, it's a high priority item.
Yes.
So when is it going to get done?
As soon as I can find a safe way to do it. And
Will that be before we add more volume to it with Corbin and potentially the Thorndale Circle?
I don't think one is related to the other.
Because the health of the system isn't needed to be known before you tax
Because
it?
the volume of water through that pipe has no impact on whether that is a healthy pipe or not, or whether it's going to break. It could break tomorrow, it could break 5 years from now, it could break 20 years from now. It's not going to be determined whether we added 50,000 gallons a day from the Corbin project or whatever. What's going to happen is that pipe is going to fail and the water's going to start coming up out of the ground. What I need to have in place is a plan to replace it. Spending $250,000 on an evaluation of a force main, just so they can tell me that it's old, probably is not the direction I want to spend $250,000 on. I'd prefer to start putting a capital plan together that I have in place in the next year that puts a backup pipe in place, puts up backup connections in case we have a breakdown there. That's what I want to do. I don't want to expose that pipe. The only way to get down to that pipe is to dig and expose the pipe. That, I think, is detrimental more to that system than adding some small flows to it.
Or we have to put in, I guess the 250 is like you put in a full bypass,
Yeah.
so that you could camera the inside, but what is that? And that's only a partial.
Yeah.
And it's camera.
But then I have to run the
Yeah.
pipe up to the next manhole.
But it
which
wouldn't tell you how
is
thick the iron is.
Yeah.
Over
Camera.
1,000 feet away.
But your camera could be fine in that because it's so
not-
scoured, you
It's not
wouldn't
about,
see anything.
it's not about cameraing.
It's the
pipes at
thickness
this
of the
point.
wall, right?
Those
That you-
walls would be probably smooth as a baby's bottom right now because of the flows that go through there.
Yeah, I thought about it like, we got, how many, 14 pump stations, 16?
14.
14 pump stations in town. Each one of those pump stations has a force main, and just like any other piece of the system, be it a pump or a pipe or a fitting or a valve, it could break. Any piece of the system could break at any time. And so the reaction time, I guess as you're suggesting, is the most important, which is if it does break, how quickly can we mitigate?
And can I, just because I don't always understand what you're talking about. So when you're saying mitigate and putting in another pipe, are you gonna like have that pipe be empty most of the time, except when there's a problem with the main force main, and then you somehow have a valve that pushes you over there? Is that how that works?
You can hook up a bypass and you can
A
run,
bypass. Is a bypass a pipe that's in the ground?
a bypass is a valve
A valve.
on the outlet pipe
Yeah, the
of
pipe.
the pump station.
Okay.
That you would open up and shut off the main force
Right,
main,
okay.
open up the other one, and you'd have either a pipe that's partially in the ground that runs up to the manhole so that you can bypass and do work on the old force main, if that's what you select to do. Or the bypass is you put it in, you run it to a new pipe, and the entire pipe is underground, and you use that brand new and you abandon the old one in place. place.
Oh, okay.
But what we've seen done, and I think the water company is a perfect example, they ran 11 miles or $11 million pipe from Bridgeport down to Stanford.
Yeah.
Some of it went overground, some of it went
Yeah.
under the driveways.
Yeah.
That was a temporary solution to a problem that they had.
The water problem.
That could be a solution if we had to do something quickly.
But a permanent pipe, replacing it with your plan of not looking at it, but replacing it, that wouldn't be above ground.
No, if I'm gonna replace that pipe, I'm gonna permanently put it in the ground.
Put two.
But there's also the option
Put
of,
two.
you know, right now,
Yeah,
if
you would.
something happens,
I'm-
you're starting from scratch and scrambling, right?
I mean,
There's one of 3 companies you can call to get to.
We already have a plan. We
Yeah.
already had Arcadis look at the plan. So
Yeah.
it'd be, we'd have to update the plan, we'd have to at least get a contractor. I mean, emergency, I probably
It's
wouldn't.
basically what can shave hours off of that.
Yeah. Stanford had that problem, right, and solved it. They had a force main go down, didn't they?
They did, it was in the
Wallace
news.
Point.
Yeah.
That was a
That was bad.
traffic cone in a gravity manhole. I think that was what it was, something.
Really?
Traffic
Traffic.
barrel or something. It was
Yeah,
something.
it was something.
Yeah.
Greenwich had one too, they put 26 million gallons in the harbor.
Now, question, so
It's a lot.
in terms of like a normal functioning house and a sump pump running 24/7, horse and a half, what volumes, and you might know this answer, what volumes are we talking about? One house, sump pump, 24/7.
Well, is
on
it
all
twenty
the
percent,
time?
like, how often is it on versus off? Because usually they're right.
They
like,
start-
1,500 gallons per hour,
Okay,
something.
I don't know, the one over on
2,000
Holly
gallons per
Lane
hour.
was running all the time.
yeah, same
Oh.
cycles all the
That
time.
was,
Some
I
have
think
2 or
that's the
3 sump
exception
pumps.
to the
Yeah.
rule.
But say one-
But it
All the
was, I did hear that one.
Okay, good.
I
Because
mean,
I heard that one too when I was
are
on
you
the
cycle?
A half
Gotta
a
know they
swimming
cycle.
pool a day? It's a significant amount of water. Now, vis-à-vis a brand-new house, just flushing toilets, people living there, no leaky pipes, nothing. What would that put out a day? 1,100 gallons? What was the, not even, right?
It's, the state
Not even.
uses 115 gallons per bedroom
Okay.
per day.
Yeah.
So a sump pump is staggeringly,
A sump
600
pump,
gallons a
if
day.
you say it does 30 gallons a minute and it
Yeah.
runs for 20 minutes an hour,
Yeah.
it's 14,256 gallons.
Fast math.
But, I mean, that would have to run all day.
Yeah.
some of them,
No, that would,
Ed, I
times
think,
it times 0.3, so it isn't even 20 minutes
So-
an hour.
I think they
8
do.
hours of.
Your point is,
A third of?
Yeah.
any amount of sump pumps
a
connected
little less.
is a problem.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, like, if we could fix one sump pump, how many new houses weighing it for capacity?
We've had this, you and I know, we've
Yeah.
had this discussion about
But-
how do we address sump pumps and, you know, right now, since that decision's still up in the air and how to handle that, we're moving forward with the best process that we know
Oh,
how.
I get that, Ed, I totally get
So
that,
this
but
is next step.
yeah, it is, but
But it could be
if we're in a problem where the system is at, that's the best way, the cheapest bang for the
Yeah,
buck,
getting clean
is
water out of the
stopping that somehow.
Okay.
And if we're really talking about how many more houses could the town hold, or buildings, and it's relative to that, a new building doesn't use that much water, isn't putting that much in the sewer, doesn't have a sump pump. And that's why Stanford, the INI is lower, because they're all brand-new buildings. They're not leaky old buildings with sump pumps in them.
You notice a leak inside an apartment building a lot quicker
Right.
than in the ground.
So I guess that's where I'm going, and just in weighing all this, and how we responsibly make our system better for the future and supply the needs that people need to develop the town.
So do we want to, again, add to the next agenda discussion on sump pump policy and?
I'll do a little digging and see if there's what the fines are, who's got what, around the country, or how you go about it.
We had a bunch of stuff.
We talked about fines, and fines are good for people that are, in my opinion, belligerent to the law, let's say. We know, we don't care, we do it anyway. Gathering the data is the hard part.
Yeah, how do we
What's
find
the
out?
incentive? How do we get someone, let's say Susan doesn't have a sump pump, we send her a letter, please return this, telling us you're not tied in.
What about an affidavit yearly in the bill?
Exactly. And okay, if later we find that you're tied in, is there a penalty that goes with it?
If we catch 2 or 3 people, it's like 40 more houses you could put in.
Well, how is them signing an affidavit going to capture that they just sign an affidavit?
I have looked at my system, and I have had a plumber look, and I don't
Some
believe I'm
people will
connected.
take that seriously.
They'll take it seriously, and they'll
Some
go look at their
people-
plumbing. and then they'll
Well,
solve
some
it.
people will, but the ones
you
who
only-
already know they're pumping into the system are just gonna ignore
But
you.
the ones that don't might solve it, and 2 or 3 houses that had a problem will yield 50 more houses of being able to be built. And
Okay, that has an unfairness component to it that I don't
Okay.
approve
So we
of.
also talked about, like, what are the.
I agree.
Very
what are
unfair.
the- what are the
You get
gate-
some good people who are gonna come in and do something about it, and the rest of them are all slaggards, and you can't do anything for them, so you've got these poor people that are honest, pumping it into their yards, and the rest of them are all still pumping it into the system. That does not fly. I do remember you saying, and I remember John Zagrodsky was here, that the selectmen are going to have to come up with in one of our meetings, you said the selectmen are going to need
Yeah, but
to
I think we're,
have a
You have
policy
have
to
a
help us with
surcharge.
this.
I think
People
it was more along the line,
Yeah.
help us support whatever policy.
yeah,
Come up with.
there needs to be
Forward.
administrative
Absolutely.
concurrence, right?
Yep.
We can't just
Absolutely.
Yep.
do it ourselves.
And the ability to hook up to a stormwater system.
But it starts with what would it?
Right.
I think what we can do is create an outline or a bullet point of what would a policy look like? What are the gateway moments? I want a building permit. I want a planning and zoning permit. I want a wetland permit. I want a sewer appeal. I want, whatever, right? Like, those are
I
gateway.
want a tax appeal.
Yeah, yeah. What are gateway moments that we can create?
Well, anytime someone comes in for an appeal from now, on, I'm gonna ask them that.
Yeah.
And some might know, some might not.
Do we make, are we able, does it make sense to make it a condition that Anthony go out and look
Before your appeal.
before we would grant any appeal?
That's interesting, Craig. They're asking for something. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's
Yeah.
not just they sign something that says, okay, it's a moment that we have a building official that might be on site or a official from our department.
We wanna
that
check
might be
our
on site.
lateral, camera it from the house out.
That's where I was gonna go. I was gonna go that as a condition of sale, your lateral is inspected by a list of
License.
video people that we've made, so they're gonna wanna be on the list. So they're gonna report things like a sump pump to us, because they're gonna have to go in the basement to camera the lateral. And they're also going to be checking for infiltration of the lateral, condition of the lateral, and, which is another public health issue, is exfiltration. The lateral could be leaking into the ground.
So
The
what-
sewer could not be, the sewage could be
So who is doing the
leaking.
work and who's paying for the work?
Either the seller or the buyer, not us. We're not, we're just receiving.
So like if you
We don't
got
have
a
to go
letter
out-
in the mail that said, first I think we have to be kind of targeted, right? And this sort of work helps us target, like, this neighborhood seems to have a lot more I&I versus that neighborhood, right? This neighborhood's up high, this neighborhood's, whatever it is, right? So we say, there's probably some issues here because we can see it in the flow data.
But I'm also saying that the laterals should be inspected.
Yeah,
Just
well,
for the condition they're in.
Understood. So we identify your neighborhood as being a problem area. We send you a letter saying, please have your lateral inspected. Here's the 5 companies you can have do
But
that.
Bob's saying at point of sale, when the house is sold.
Point of sale.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. huh?
Yeah, it's an interesting triggering event. They won't do it on
There are at
disclosures.
least 2 towns in Massachusetts that have those regulations.
So that would be like a town charter regulation.
No, it's where that we own the sewers. We can do whatever we want.
Policy.
Policy. Why not?
But we want administrative concurrence, right? We don't want to go rogue and just do it ourselves. So we try for that first. Same way we get our budget approved by them. We can technically approve our own budget, but it goes through the same process.
Yeah, no, I
as
get
all
it.
the
I
others.
get it.
Because it's better if everybody kind of knows what's going on and agrees.
I mean, if you're buying a house, you should know whether the lateral's good or not. We had a couple sales where, remember, we had one that was a separated joint, and the house went, that it was just put in the file. They
So
ended up
you have
buying the
those
house.
2 regs from Massachusetts?
Well, let's-
Can you-
Not yet.
what-
I just found the name today.
Why don't we put it on the agenda for just a discussion, see where we go? But it's just where
Look,
my heart's been, for a while.
I'm all for
From day one.
getting water that shouldn't be in the system out of the system, all for it, 100% all for it. That's the only way really, because
Yeah.
any other way is just dominoes, right? Like, oh, make the force main bigger, and then you have to make the gravity main bigger, then you have to make Wheat Beach bigger, then you have to make the other
Yeah.
force main bigger, then you're over, like, it's dominoes, right?
Well,
So
what,
building capacity by
I mean,
removing
essentially,
water.
But it's also a
when
waste
you,
of
when
resources.
you do
Yeah.
a closing,
Yeah.
I mean, those things would, have to be on your list to make sure they get.
Yeah, municipal check. Sewer connected, yes, then,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean,
lateral file,
It'd be
check.
like, almost like a title search.
Like the oil tanks, buried oil tanks, that's much more serious
Very
now.
authentic. That's interesting. It's a good corollary.
Will we be
You
able
know,
to
we can-
have this footage so that we, or some report in our
I
file?
think that would be the.
Absolutely.
How
Yeah,
about having
okay.
How about having a sewer use fee with discounts if you don't have?
Yeah. Well, it's a carrot and a stick. So what's the
Right, I
carrot?
mean, it's,
They have a sump pump going in
$50
there. I wanna-
off if you sign the
Well, I mean-
affidavit, have a plumber check it, $100 off.
I don't care if they have a sump pump going, if they're paying for it.
Yeah,
But they are paying for it.
I think
Well,
I
that's-
do.
that's what I'm
on some-
saying.
I think I do.
That'd be some big bucks.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're actually paying for the actual gallonage.
It would be
right?
Yeah, so I
Stunning.
mean, if they,
Yeah.
so if the sewer rate is up, and, you know, if we're smart enough, we can figure out the mathematics.
You can have
But
a-
those
have a
people
sump
are
pump if
willing
you meter
to
it.
have their houses inspected, and there's no sump pump, they get the break. I mean,
So-
you know,
Okay.
So we would like to.
I mean, it's
put-
draconian, but
They give $50 off a year for, no, I
I
have
just
no
need to
sump pump.
capture this
well, I mean,
information and
how
change.
much does it, I mean, how much does it add in the way of, you know, if they have a sump pump?
Depends how
roughly.
often it
Yeah,
runs.
maybe it
So,
could be-
I mean, take the worst case.
I had a house.
Peter, I'd love it when we get the electric data every 15 minutes. We get correlated with storm events and groundwater levels.
But
We
if you're
would know.
cammering the lateral, you're finding the condition of the lateral, you're finding if
Yes,
there
that's
could
a
be
good
roots
idea.
there, that could be
Also,
on the verge of backing up into the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's many more things you're gonna find by having them camera the lateral at point of sale
Agree.
than just sump pumps.
Oh, yeah, sure, sure.
I
I
think
love that idea.
there are other,
It's
there
true, I
are
don't
other
have a sump
things
pump,
that,
but
that you have to sell them
Yeah.
on. You know, the sump pump is one of them, but the condition of it, knowing if it's gonna, you know, you gotta replace it in 5 years or 50 years.
If
If
you're-
there's roots in there, if, you know,
I think just for
If you're
discussion.
a buyer, right,
You'd want to know.
you'd like to know that. I mean,
But
you don't know now.
Peter, you know that most people, they're very good at some things, they're not very good at
yeah,
understanding
but I mean,
everything,
but
I think
especially houses.
we need to consider while we're talking about options, right, is what are the levels and what is doable, achievable more quickly versus what might take more legal time and wrangle. You know, I'm just imagining a scenario, right? So we institute a reg that says at any property transfer in town, laterals need to be inspected, or whatever other gateway items we're looking at. And, you know, Peter finds out he's got to replace 100 feet of sewer lateral on his property in order to sell his house, and it's going to cost him $35,000. That's going to be, and maybe it's the right thing, I'm not saying it's not, but that's going to be a harsh reality.
So the buyer should assume
it's like a
that?
gas
You
station,
know?
a gas station inspecting their tanks before they sell, or you inspecting your oil tank in the ground before you sell. I mean, there's numerous things. I don't see, just because we haven't done it before, doesn't mean that it's not the right thing to do. And I would
So we keep cutting
wholeheartedly
it.
say it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Exfiltration, which people don't really talk about, you're putting sewage in the ground.
Well, so are septic systems.
But it could be, it
Yes, but
doesn't
they're
have to be a
treated.
set, but
Septic
you don't know
tank
how
is
the
not
ground
treated.
percolates. If you're up here and it's exfiltrating, it could just be going in your neighbor's yard.
Yeah, you get a septic system approved, you make sure it's 75 feet from a drinking water well, but sewage is going in the ground. It's not.
And it's
like
not treated?
A crazy thing.
No.
You're telling me that the very expensive thing we had to pay for at my dad's house was not worth anything?
It perks
No, all
to the
it
ground.
does is get the water in the ground. The only thing that's removed is stuff
Solids.
that settles out in the septic tank.
Yeah.
But
And you have
everything else flows
biological
right through
activity
onto the
in the
leaching
septic
field and
tank.
soaks into the ground.
The leaching
They
fields,
shouldn't-
so you have
they
leaching
shouldn't
fields.
pump
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, but all they are is like
That's
an
the ground.
infiltration system.
It's just, the
It's water
solution,
going into the ground.
it's the solution for pollution is dilution.
They spread it out and it soaks into the ground.
Yeah.
And you can have it 75 feet away from a.
Well, then
boil
those
water.
biofilter systems, they weren't doing anything either?
They will. Living filter,
well-
yeah. It's just,
Because they didn't even have They were,
State of Connecticut doesn't have advanced treatment technology for residential homes. It's gravity into the ground. That's the treatment. And the ground provides treatment, right? The anaerobic action in the ground.
But I thought
the-
that
the
those-
scum that forms the inside of a leaching field. There are biological actions that occur.
Digestion.
Right.
That treat, right?
There's
Like
some-
right, well, that's what I would,
Sewage breaks down in nature.
that's what I thought, but those
If you let it
biofilters,
alone long enough, it'll be in there.
but those biofiltration systems that don't have the leaching fields, I thought that was happening in all of that, going back and forth and going back and
They're creating
forth.
that volume by a filter.
Right.
Length of.
Yeah, there's no bio. What are you talking about? Stormwater or sewer?
No, talking about the living filters, like.
Living
we had
filter
a couple of them
systems
when we were
like-
in
No, no, no,
EBC.
no.
But those are sewer,
Even
No,
in
yeah.
oil.
septic, I mean, septic.
So the
They're getting the
fa-
volume of the
fancy-
leach field.
The
in
fancy
this.
new stuff, we design septic systems all the time. The fancy new septic systems, which have these fins on them.
Yes.
That does not create a longer flow path. It does not. It creates more contact area between that septic system and the earth around it. There's more contact area. So instead of having a plain old concrete system that you can spread out that far across the landscape, you can do one of these cool new systems with these fins and spread it this far across
like-
the
And get a
landscape.
7-bedroom house where you only could have
It's like-
a 3-bedroom house
Well,
before,
there's-
because
that's not-
now you can fit it into a much
You're being
smaller
cynical.
space. I am very cynical.
And there's more calculations than that
Okay.
go into it. There's something called minimum leaching system spread, which has to do with the Earth's capacity to absorb the effluent.
Right,
But just where this started was,
yeah.
like, there's no alarm bell. I agree, exfiltration can be bad and you don't know where it's going and it could turn into a public health concern. But we have effluent going into the ground all over town,
Right,
period.
right, especially in those living filter systems where you also have 3
And it can be-
dishwashers
and it can all
and
be
however many
75 feet-
showers throwing all
75
that
feet
water.
from the well that you're drinking the water from.
Hey, Craig, though, whenever there's a crack in the line, tree roots find that damn thing and fill
Well,
it.
actually,
So-
even if you have oil, it's down in the ground.
I think we gotta-
Air gets to it, little bugs eat that all up and
Right,
it's gone.
But I think, look, the same way this is done is that there is a logic to where you spend your money first. Because you can get farther on fewer dollars by targeting the real problems based on real study. And that's just reality.
and you're saying exfiltration is not really worth
No.
looking at because you're already exfiltrating all of your septic systems into the ground, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying to be alarmist about the fact that exfiltration might be occurring is maybe misplaced because the
With the nose, no?
animals.
What about-
Animals, excuse me. Animals go on the surface everywhere.
Okay, so
The pigs
so
are a big
then,
problem in upstate New York with the lakes.
right next to
when
Poland
the,
Spring.
when they're surcharging, is that a different situation?
So,
Going back to
yeah,
Sedgwick, and it surcharges for whatever reason we don't know.
our goals are to eliminate that. That's what our goals are.
But that's
We're
not the
going
same as
after the-
exfiltration. That's,
It's
Or it
not
is in your
dissimilar.
mind.
It's what is the health risk of, coming into contact with sewage, right? We don't want it. We want to avoid it. But I also don't want to be alarmist about the reality of what is occurring everywhere all the time.
Underground.
underground,
Yeah,
but this
underground.
is above ground.
Right, different, no,
When there's a-
it's surcharging is
Is different,
in the
okay.
environment, we
Just
see it.
checking to make
Yeah.
sure
See it.
surcharging
See
is
it.
different.
Yeah, you know it.
Okay,
But I like Bob's idea, so if we can do some digging and see.
So-
It's a nice way to capture some people at some time when they don't yet own the house and
Yeah.
inform them, hey, you're on the sewer.
I like-
This is
yeah.
what, you might need to maintain it, and there's the whole program with that safety valve, the insurance, they can sell you for the water line, that includes the sewer line now. Maybe they wanna
Doesn't-
know that, yeah, I think they've added
you
that.
do know that insurance doesn't cover anything that you
Of
might have
course not,
happen
it's
to
like
you.
your car repair insurance, I know that. They used to have oil tank insurance too back in the day.
Show up with a pipe and say, here.
Yeah, we'll buy you the pipe. But I like it. So if we could look for some creative ways, and
So
carrot,
we
carrot
want
sticks, whatever.
to put a sump pump removal policy and a lateral inspection policy on the agenda for further discussion. Is that the
'Cause it-
consensus of the committee?
Yes, and if we talk about this now, 6 months from now, we might have something concrete.
Yeah, it's gonna take a
That's
while.
what I'm thinking.
It's gonna,
And I know we've done capacity studies and looked at this and looked at that. They almost become a non-event if you can start to really pull stuff out.
100%
And
true.
to me, the sump pumps are a huge issue and always were.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to the discussion, gentlemen?
Thank you for putting up with us.
I listened to everything you folks had to say, a lot of really, really good ideas. I'd say write them down and bring them to the next meeting, because I think that's a good place to start. I think you all had some good ideas. It's not gonna be one, though that, I like that one idea, but I liked a couple of other ones I heard too. It's not gonna be just one effort. It's not gonna be just one type of go after them. It's going to be multiple things. You're down here for an appeal. I absolutely should ask them, you know. Now they need something from us. They'd like something from us. Well, we'd like something from you too. An assurance that you're tied in properly and not putting in, with an illicit connection, water that doesn't belong.
Although I do like that idea, I also want to step back from that. Like if you would have a legitimate appeal for your sewer, you know, can we withhold our judgment of that, you know, unless you jump through hoops, right? Like, is that something that we can do? You know,
Well, you know
If
what?
it's just
If it-
Anthony going out,
If it comes after, let's say next buildings go out. We send a form to every house. Please return this form to us, letting us know whether you have a sewer, sump pump connection or not.
right?
Consider it an affidavit, consider whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
I walk in now, I didn't send you back that little postcard, but I walk in and I want an appeal. And we go, sorry, you're on the list of.
Love that.
You didn't,
Love it.
you know, you didn't send us back the card, so as soon as you get us back that card, we'll consider your appeal. Now, we're only holding it up because you didn't follow through on what you're obligated to do as a homeowner.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
that's an easy, that's
Easy
like
to start
version
with,
1.
yeah.
And
And I
then
guess-
are we,
I love that.
yeah, and then like
Simple.
the step 2 could be, you know,
Let us come out and see it.
let us come out and check your house, make sure that the only thing getting into your sewer is your domestic usage. So we can grant the appeal based on that.
Yeah, that
And we can
sounds
also
like a
include the
low-hanging
real
fruit.
estate
Yeah.
That's like,
transaction
even if you
point.
catch 2 or 3 a year, it's staggering.
I mean,
amount of water.
we're averaging around 25 appeals since, you know, since I first started, it was
So
a lot.
it's also a manageable
Yeah,
way to
It
start.
is a manageable
Right.
way to start,
and we could do that as a policy. That's not a huge,
but I, you know.
Can we do the real estate transaction inspection
no,
as
that might
policy?
be, we might need to do more looking into that.
Yeah, that's,
That's,
I feel like that's
it's
gotta
burdensome.
be a town law to me.
It's our
Is the
system.
oil tank a town law?
No, that's all about, that's nothing
That
to
was
do with
state.
it. That's the state.
That's
yeah.
DEEP, fire
So
marshal.
but it was I assume it was a law
Yeah.
at the state level, right?
I don't, that's what I'm
I don't know,
asking.
I'm
I don't know.
imagining it would,
They're a big,
That's
a
what I'm
big
asking,
deal.
can we do that? Can we just start in on that as well?
Along
well,
the
we
state level.
we have a fair amount, and obviously at some point, we're gonna have to ask for
Yeah.
town council. And maybe it's our town council, or it's a council that has more experience with WPCA's.
Then we could just look
To
and
make
see
sure we're
see if
operating
anybody's
within
done
bounds.
this in Connecticut. We'll just Google and find and see if there's any
Yeah.
regs and how they've done it. You know, I think your ideas are going.
Do you go to any kind of meetings, statewide with other communities that have,
Once a year I go, they're.
like that water thing? There was
Yeah.
some water one that
Yeah.
people were going
They,
to.
they've had, listen, there's other towns out there, many other towns out there, with the same problem we have,
Yeah.
right? You can only do so much with your sewer, but then there's still that low-hanging fruit that you can't identify, right? Some pumps, if we were to shut them all off, you know how much more capacity you'd have?
It's insane, right?
So,
We wouldn't have any debate, would we?
no, but, you know, I haven't seen any town, to be honest with you, aggressively go after some pumps. I mean, Greenwich kind of dipped their toe in it a little bit, if I'm saying that correctly. I think they tried, or they were making an effort, but, you know, haven't heard of any really outstanding results.
They did, but they were so far behind they were doing, it was with smoke testing, and they were like years, I mean, literally, there were times where the smoke came out, and it was 5 years later that they were going in there to inspect, and pipe joints look new and then you walk out the door and it's plastic. I mean, how hard is it to put it back the way it was?
And I don't want to get caught up in people that are going to be intentionally devious, right? I think
I mean, you could connect it out.
You're never going to win that.
No, but I think you need, I think a parallel step has to be a way for certain people, or certain homeowners, excuse me, I didn't mean it,
Repeat.
to be able to connect to the storm system, because some yards just aren't gonna work for percolating the sump water. It just becomes a circle. And then you're just wasting electricity.
I'd much rather have it bubbling out of a catch basin than
Yep.
bubbling out of a sanitary sewer.
Amen.
But the storm sewer are not in our realm.
Thankfully, we have someone here who's.
Well, I knew that, but I'm saying it's not in our,
Yeah, DPW and
If
P&Z.
you got to choose between the two, it's
P
an
and Z
obvious
and
choice.
DPW
Yeah.
will manage the stormwater
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah.
It's bubbling out of the catch basin is not a health issue.
Exactly.
And actually, EPC is going to look at revamping those stormwater regulations. I've already said I'll come in and speak on one thing that I know should change. Because you
What
wrote
about
them,
people
right? You
pumping-
guys wrote those
Yeah.
regulations.
It's involved.
We're in the middle of it right now,
You're in the middle of what?
rewriting the regulations right now.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
new.
So
The stormwater
whoever you spoke to, get in touch with them again, because
Well, there's going to need to be a public hearing, and that's when I'll come forward, I guess.
Why don't you
Anybody who
just-
wants to, anybody who wants
Get the
to.
draft.
I'm pretty sure we would appreciate your input
Anyone-
before
okay,
that.
well-
To be
That would be
clear,
helpful.
the Department of Public Works is preparing a town drainage manual that says when you propose a stormwater system, these are the rules that you have to follow.
How many pages?
And the state just came out with a new water quality manual too.
Well, I would be
Good.
happy to look it over. I have some thoughts since I was there when we created the current regulation. And these two
Appreciate it.
guys were the ones who worked on it, but we approved it
Do
in
you-
the individual commissions.
Do you care if a sump pump is emptied into the stormwater system?
I care about everything that's connected to the stormwater
Well, I mean, is
system.
there-
But the question is, can the water go to the stormwater? That's generally where it should be going. Onto the surface, infiltrating in, or to the direct storm connection. You have some options,
But you need an approval,
but you need my approval.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I mean, that might be.
It sounds like as a part of the drainage manual, we should have a section that addresses sump pumps. Like what is the minimum requirement for the size of an infiltration system and standards, and if you can't meet this, then you can do that.
I think there is a piece in there for sump pumps.
Yeah, that's
Remember they were
great.
talking about it.
That's
but let me
great,
check.
I'm writing it.
especially on new builds. Here's your $400 a month electric bill to pump water.
I mean, up in those areas where big houses, is there a stormwater system?
It has to be street by street area.
Yeah, sometimes it's very sparse, if at all, in
Yeah.
some of those hinterland areas, but a lot of some of the hinterland areas are septic too versus
Yeah.
hinterland.
Yeah, we're not even getting those.
All right.
That was interesting.
That was
That was a lot of fun.
That was number 4.
4. I'm glad, I was
I'm
going
gonna
to ask
I-
at the
I
beginning of the
bet- take
meeting how
bets,
quick
yeah,
the meeting was
yeah.
going to be. I'm glad I didn't, I would have lost the bet tonight.
I would have
They're
too.
gonna blame this one on me.
Oh, looks like,
Army.
looks like this one I'm going to have to recuse
Oh,
myself from.
What, the
We
car
blame
wash?
everything.
The car
on
wash?
the-
That's fine.
Yes, I think there might be a company that I'm part owner of that's involved with it. Mr. Hill, will you
Yes.
please take item number 5? I
Sure.
will be recused.
We don't have anything in the packet, do we?
I don't know what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about
car
number
wash.
5.
The
Should I
sewer,
stay close?
the sewer superintendent would ask you to stay close to listen to the
Oh,
conversation.
okay.
Yeah.
Number 5,
Yes.
we are preparing to receive information from the consultant doing this project. And what we're finding as we're going, this will be the third one I think we're taking on as a third party. What we are finding is, though I pushed and promoted that I'd like to bring them to you and ask, as part of the discussion and action, that you allow me to hire a third party or take the work and move it to a third-party review, I'm seeing that it's slowing down the process of getting these moved into the queue so that we can have them reviewed, comments be addressed by the engineers when needed, and then getting back for a final review. So I put this on the agenda to tell you, one, that's going to be coming, but I probably won't get it for another week or so, which means they'll lose 3 more weeks until the next meeting.
So you want to have the ability just to hire peer review at will.
And then,
That makes total
and then let
sense,
you folks
right?
know, because generally what we're doing is, if Darren and I can't review it,
Yeah.
or there's a particular case or area of interest, we're going to get a third party to review it.
That makes sense.
And we wanted to make sure, I wanted to make sure that you're okay with that before
I
we
think it's
move
great.
forward to do that.
You think just move it along whenever it comes, it's like a public hearing, you know what meets the threshold, and you guys should be able to do that and move it forward without wasting time. We'd always say get another opinion anyway, right? If it's any debate.
I would say, I say yes on first glance, but, like when they come in and say, I have no idea, but if we have some idea that isn't on there, don't we want the third party to make comment on that?
Oh, we could always bring both reports in and say, we're
No.
not sure about this. If there's review and peer review, and we want to have a question. So we went through that many times with Joe Canis on EPC or P&Z, where there's an outside expert that we've hired, and the experts usually refine their analysis to this, if there's a problem here and I can help this. And, they come to an agreement mostly, and the commission weighs in. So it's collaborative sometimes.
Bob, let me give you a scenario. Let's say they came in and I was able to do it. I had some free time, able to sit down, go through the plans, go to the review. I'd review it. You folks probably wouldn't know that I'm doing it anyway. Or I told you the project has hit my desk and I'm going to review it. I'd review it, I'd make comments, I'd send it back to the engineer, he would address it. It would be on the next agenda. There wouldn't be any approval yet until you folks get to look at what the analysis looked like and what the review looked like before it moved forward after that. And so that's what we're doing now.
And if it works like that, that's fine, but what I'm saying is, when you brought it to that meeting, if, say, we had some other option that we wanted investigated, is that's gonna push it back another month anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, is it really that advantageous for you to do it a week from now, or wait until after we have our initial look at it and our comments? And that's just, I'm just saying something out loud. I could be totally off. That was just my first thought.
No, I'm thinking that the opportunities for you folks to redirect an analysis, if it's been approved already, are going to be rare. I'm not saying they're not going to happen, but I do want to promote moving this process forward, not having to wait 30 days to come before you to get your opinion on it and then get back to them, because I
Do we have the
think,
ability to hold a special meeting?
excuse me?
Do we have the ability to hold a special meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we needed to, we could meet halfway through the month, and it would only be 2 weeks? EPC, when we were on it, met 3 times a month. P&Z meets 3 times a month. So some of those are special meetings.
Sure.
So we could always, if there was an issue and you thought it was going to raise concerns, you
Yeah.
could call a special meeting. Okay.
I got it.
I like that option.
I'm just asking, are we allowed to do that? I
But-
can't imagine we
No,
are.
we've called special meetings for public hearings.
Okay.
So there's no reason that we couldn't, as a
Okay.
commission, call a special meeting.
Well, what is the context of this? Is this a new car wash? Okay, so, all right, so essentially
It's going to have impact on our
What's the impact?
pump station
Yeah,
and
right.
and the
It's
gravity
at the
line.
very end of the
Yeah,
system. So
exactly.
it comes
Yeah.
down a great deal of the system.
And-
So,
It's a smaller sewer shed, but yeah, it's at the end of it. Car washes generally generate more water, but this one actually does recycling on site of their water also. So there's other components that are be going into it.
but like one of the comments I would have, just off the top of my head, is you're saying that they're recycling, so I would assume they're gonna have a storage tank on site that they have to periodically empty?
I can't,
No, but these are the type things that I would want to know the answer to before you had the third party. So to me, again, that would be the pumping off hours.
I think that's a perfect opportunity for you after we do the review, just in my opinion. Having a third party look at it, having me look at it and coming to you say, okay, this is what I found, and you telling me, where's the water go? How does the tank system work? Does it recycle all the water, or do you pump it down at the end of the night? When do they pump it? Those are all good questions. And all good questions that we pass back on to the engineer.
And
But you would
that,
ask those questions.
I hope
Probably.
as an engineer, I wouldn't have to. As an engineer, knowing that I'm having someone review my work, I'm gonna spell out in that analysis how the whole system works so that you're comfortable in approving it. That's what I'd be doing as an engineer. I expect that from a qualified engineering company, which is one of the companies that's working on this one. I'm not saying that in particular, but that's what your expectations would be. That you get a full-blown analysis on how the system's going to work on your site and how it impacts our pump station. Whether you pump during peak hours, you pump off peak hours, how do you, those are all good questions. And it may be something that our third-party engineer picks up.
Susan, this is no different than P and Z. What's the triggering of, Ed just needs to know what's the triggering event where I should bring in another guy?
I just feel out of my depth.
No, it's not, there's
A lot
nothing,
of this.
no, it's not that,
Okay.
it's really, it's like when you need an expert and when you can't workload handle it.
But we could
I mean,
always,
like-
you could always call a special meeting if he felt he
Yeah,
needed to
yeah,
come before
to
us.
tighten
Okay.
the timeframe.
Then I
But
feel
this-
better.
This is all just giving Ed the discretion to hire another guy.
Okay.
If they
no,
can't
and
handle it.
I'm
that's
okay
all.
with them
And
hiring
it-
it.
and
I'm
it's
just
still
wondering if for some reason there isn't something that they see, because we can see something else as not, as
Totally.
being non-engineers.
But that,
And our question might be ridiculous, but
Mine
I've,
are.
talked myself through problems out loud and actually, thought of things because I was saying it. So I'm just, it seems like, all right, maybe this is what I'm thinking. That if you're doing that immediately, you're taking us out of the initial process. Which if
But
you
not
think.
out of the process.
No, not out of the process, but then if we come up with a question later, you said it's harder for them to
No.
do it. No, it's not?
No.
It's
No, I
not
mean,
gonna
it's
push
going-
it back
if-
the
if
month
you-
there?
No, if you
Listen,
have more.
Anyway?
If they have not provided, through their analysis and design of their systems on site and discharging into our system, the comfort level that as a sewer commission and staff and third-party engineer can approve, then that's on them. As an engineer, you want to go forward, they should be asking us what we think we should see in the report. That's what I would do. I don't want to sit down with you. We already have. We sat down with them. That's one of the first things they did. That's how I know this is coming and that we can't handle it. Bandwidth, we cannot handle it.
I think
right
you guys, I think that when they got rid of the sewer department and put it all onto DPW, that was a lot of work, a lot of extra work, and you're only one department. And so I agree with you, that you should be able to get help when you need it.
To
Absolutely.
Without coming
To
in.
answer Bob's.
Yeah, without coming to us.
Question here was, if he had more information, right, the question would be better that you posed. You would pose a better question, because you'd have more information.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is, if they're
In other
gonna
words,
do
some of your
this,
questions might
this
be
stuff
answered.
definitely needs to get to us the Thursday before the
Sure.
meeting, so we get a chance to
Sure.
dissect and
Then
disseminate.
maybe some of the process maybe part of the process should be then that when I submit to third-party review, or we do the review, let's say we decide to do the review, that you all get a copy of the analysis.
I'm
This way you can.
good with it,
I'm good
I
with
can
it.
understand, but
I'm
it's,
good with looking at it.
it's,
I'll be
then you
least-
could start looking at it and coming up with your thoughts beforehand. If you have some really strong comments, you can make them to either myself, Darren, or the third-party engineer. We pass them on. That keeps you in the middle of the process, though.
I have no problem being in the process. I feel like someone on the street could ask you a question, so you should have some of the answers.
But what I'm saying is that puts you in the middle of the process that if we go through, there are no comments back to me, or there's some small comments, 2 months later, when we're actually telling them it's okay to do it, coming up with something else would, in my opinion, be inappropriate.
Yeah, no, 2 months later, yes.
Okay, that's,
But what I'm saying is, all right, so does this strike a happy medium? that in a week, you'll get the paperwork and you want to send it to the third party. Is it possible for you to send it to us for 3 days and then let us look at it and see if we have any quick questions and then you send it to the third? Does that make any sense?
I
To anybody
I
else?
don't-
I don't
third
think,
party is just-
I don't think the 3 days are gonna matter. I don't think the engineer, when I
Well,
send it
I
over,
was
is gonna
gonna-
go, she's gonna jump on it and start
Soon as
looking
it
at
came
it.
in.
Okay.
She's gotta put it
All
in the
right,
queue.
so when you send it to them, you
Send
send
it
it
to
to
you.
us?
Yeah.
Does
And-
that work?
And all
I'm
I
gonna
ask
learn a
is
lot.
that you folks get me your comments as soon as you
The-
possibly can.
Right.
That's
Here-
And that's on us. I mean, if we're saying that we want to be involved and we don't get involved, that's on us.
From what I found, the peer review on most boards is about methodology. Wouldn't you agree? You didn't
Yeah.
use the right comma, you didn't use the right scale, you didn't use the right equation here.
No, your safety factor is off. You
Yeah.
should have done this.
It was
Yeah.
too close to here.
Yeah, and it generally is not, it's more of a communal standard review than anything.
But I think what Bob is saying, he's gonna take it, he's gonna take a different view of it, of the analysis and how it impacts certain things and
Yeah.
how in his past or in his work, he's come across different approaches.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as a detriment. I think that's an
That's cool,
opportunity.
but whatever we can do to make the process easier for you guys and faster.
And streamline,
Cool,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
I just wanna keep it moving along. I know now it sits on my desk for 3 weeks.
That's not fair.
And,
yeah.
you know,
This is,
not that I don't like talking to lawyers and stuff. I get calls and like, hey, how are we making out? I'm like, well, still sitting here.
Yeah, that's absurd.
And
No,
unfortunately, that's just the process. So I want to modify the process just a
But the
little
thing
bit.
is, they took their sweet time getting it to you, and then the minute it gets here, it's like, hurry up.
Yeah, but-
Well, that's our chance to look at it. So
Well,
if they were that concerned, they could have got it here earlier.
Bob, from your mouth to their ears,
And-
it came the same as me.
You
Said the
built the
same thing to
house.
them.
You know
Yeah.
how hard it is.
yeah.
The whole
Yeah,
damn thing is
'cause I
hard. It's
built
uphill
one
both
house.
ways. I know, but imagine.
It's not it was not my profession. This is their
You- trust
profession.
me, it's worse if you're a professional.
Now,
Not easier.
I've been both sides of the table, so I can understand their issues, but they need to understand ours too. We do need time. Time is never our friend when we're in a rush. But I did explain to the consultants, the last couple, that when we did meet in December, I begged them, please get it to me as soon as you
Yeah.
can. Please get it to me as soon as you can. I want to make sure we move this along. And what ends up happening is the lawyers focus more on the P and Z side of it, if you will.
Yeah.
And we become a little bit of an afterthought. And
Well, 'cause if
I
they don't get approved there,
And I'm not
what's the
pointing
point?
fingers, I'm just saying, that's just the process.
Well,
You've
right, if they
seen-
don't get a P and Z
I'm trying
approval, just
to, I'm
like you
trying to
said.
help our end of
No
it
point.
process to maybe take one of the stumbling blocks or
Make
the
it faster.
hurdles out of our way.
Right.
Save
But
2
still
weeks.
keep it intact.
I mean, some of the process, I don't know what goes on in a car wash, but, you know, if they have a tank and they're recycling stuff, and eventually you're gonna empty that tank, what the hell comes out of that tank? I mean, so,
Well, that's a good question.
I mean,
How
water,
low
soap.
is the drain?
I mean, we should, you know, they should
See, there's more
They should
questions than I think.
sort of tell you, if they can.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
for example, if you're cleaning heat exchangers, you know, what comes out of that?
Oof.
so you're asking what kind of pre-treatment are they doing before
Well,
they're,
I mean,
they're
all
putting it
this,
into the
but I mean,
sewer system?
I don't
Are
wanna
they
ask
taking out
that.
grit?
I don't wanna ask that question.
Are they grinding to make sure there's no wipes?
I mean, I don't,
You
I
you
don't
need me to
wanna
go
ask
around to all
that.
the businesses and ask them that now.
I don't wanna ask that
I understand that,
question.
but you have to start somewhere.
Yes, yes.
And
Oh.
I'm willing to
I'm so
start,
sad for you.
I mean, like I said, somewhere you have to make the stand and start. Unfortunately, you know, everyone who is that person
Life's
who
tough for you.
is the starting point feels like they're being picked on.
Touche.
I'm sorry. We don't want the sewer system, we don't want SSLOs. We
And
don't
those,
want to have to spend.
those are good points for the review,
But this is.
to ask
not-
them to
Yeah, those
provide
are
that
good points for you
information.
to write down so you can ask them
But-
up front.
No, I'm gonna give you the paperwork now, and you guys will shoot me over something that I can gather up and
And I'm
include in
okay
the
with
review
that.
process. I'm fine with it too.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I will.
Whatever.
I'm happy to start trying to read these things and see if I can sort them out. My questions will be the easy ones, I think.
Well, this is not the first car wash that was ever done, so I'm sure I'm not sure, but I would suspect that if they're competent in providing us information, which they'll cover, what could happen, or what is in the tank, or what isn't in the tank. And if they don't cover it, there's the question. But if they do cover it, great.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, as laymen, we'll have different questions than an engineer might
So someone
ask.
has to look at it first, like you,
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
decide.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I came in here going in one direction. Well, you guys moved me into the next lane. That's all. That'll be good. And which is simple for me because
But absolutely go ahead and
I mean,
hire
we-
those
we
people.
definitely have people like Mr. Oben looking, he was watching the meeting. I mean, he brought up terms that, were specific to the last meeting in that letter. So we're being held accountable, and I have no problem, stepping up to the table and for that accountability.
Okay.
And I always
All right.
like to
we're all
drive
held
like that.
Can
accountable
we
every
get him
day.
back in?
All right, come on down.
Come on back.
Come back.
So we're okay with that process.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
He's been listening the whole time, smirking.
I think that should have been 2 items, maybe one a general motion and one a specific one.
What?
Yeah,
I have some thoughts on the general one, maybe we'll get
There's
to it
always
later.
going to be that problem though,
we can do
Craig.
that.
As long as you're working in Darien, you're always going to have that issue. Is it a general issue or is it a specific issue?
Item number 6,
Oh,
2025, who are you? Why are you here? What are we talking about?
Retirement. Oh,
Should that really be on here?
What are we talking about? The meeting schedule?
Yeah, the meeting schedule for
Do we-
next year.
I don't see the meeting schedule. Where is the meeting
It's right here.
schedule?
It's like a one-pager. Why are we doing
It's
that
in
now?
there.
Seems early.
it's out of order.
It's in front of the letter from.
We usually do that in
Oh, there
July.
it is. Does seem early.
Seems
You're
early.
making
Like-
time
like 2
go
weeks
faster
early.
than I wanted to.
Does anybody hate these dates?
Hate these days.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
gosh.
only 2 we run into sometimes are July 4th and like Election Day.
And we didn't have a problem with either one.
We adjusted election day.
Okay.
And August 12th.
These days, it's
I don't know what that's
election
about.
days.
Yeah, August is off a week. Is there a specific reason?
August,
Yeah,
What's the 5th?
that's to give us time to develop the bills so Ed can present it to you.
To get ready
oh,
for the, yeah.
okay.
All right.
Takes a while to get the stuff from the.
All right,
makes
seeing that
sense.
we don't know these specific dates and any conflicts we might have, I move that we accept this schedule and hope for the best.
Reese first, Peter second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Schedule is adopted. Superintendent's report.
I'll reassure you, Reese, that all of them on the first Tuesday of the month, except for 2 of them.
Okay. I may still forget every now and then.
All right.
Is that the Tuesday that comes after Monday? or-
It does. So Phase 2 sanitary sewer, let's give you a little update on, the lining is now 100% completed as part of the project, so we're almost 14,000 linear feet. We are scheduling next week, there's some manhole grouting, there's manhole replacements that are gonna be starting in 2 weeks. But the big item is on the Boston Post Road where we found the item in the sewer main, if you will, between Corbin and Leroy. They're going to investigate that next week, shut down for bypass and then camera it.
Wow.
You folks can, if you'd like, send me an email and guess what you think it is, because we have a pool going.
Whoa, where is it located?
It's by the Darien Sports Shop.
That's been there forever. That wasn't a concrete block or stone or something? It was
Again,
over.
you can send me your email, keep it quiet so people don't use the same one, but
What-
tell me what
what's
you
the-
guess it is.
This
because-
goes back.
You mean
What's
why
the
it's
pool up to?
blocking it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
So,
what-
yeah.
the
It was,
object is?
wasn't up by the movie theater
The pipe.
before and it got pushed down?
No.
That's always-
25% of its
Trying to think where the
diameter.
closest
I thought
cemetery.
How big is is it 8 inch, 10 inch? What's the
The 15-inch diameter
15
pipe,
inch? Oof.
15 inch.
And how much is it obstructing that
about
15 inch?
25%, and it's at the bottom,
So 25% of 15.
Corbin and where?
between Corbin and Leroy,
3-4
in front of the Darien Sports Shop.
so piece of macadam or something?
So,
Leroy.
that'll be,
Is
we'll
that
be
the
curious
case?
to see.
No, but that'll get flushed
Oh,
out.
brick?
Yeah,
Oh,
they've,
wood?
they've jetted it and it's still there.
Maybe it's that chimney thing that,
Yeah.
That's right,
my
get
bad.
it down.
that's my bad. The
This
floating
one's on
chimney.
the bottom though, so it's protruding up, not down.
It's close to the bank there. I When's the gold brick?
Ooh.
I'll give you a clue. The
Alcohol.
pipe is lined, so that may change your thinking a little bit.
Would it have to be barbed to like hold something?
Oh, something that got stuck
Could be a
into
big
the
fish
lining?
hook.
Is that possible? I mean, is that possible?
Bunker
Normally,
snagger.
well, what they do now is they video
You got a very
after they
good
line
guess.
to make sure
Right.
there's no leaks and there's nothing wrong with the
Stuck
liner
into the
itself.
liner? Okay.
That would just mean that they maybe didn't do that step when they lined
Under
last
the
time.
liner?
so.
Could be under the liner.
Oh.
When was it
Ooh.
lined?
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that answer.
But a long time
It's a long
ago.
time ago.
Dig a
Yeah.
15-foot hole.
Oh, yeah, no.
An old
If you
line?
run a bypass, you dig a 15-foot hole, you cut out a section of pipe, you put in a new section of pipe. It's gonna be an expensive fix, I'll tell you how much.
I'm going
On the
simpler.
post road.
We cut out the liner there. We pull out whatever's in its way, and we replace it with a short liner right over the.
That's feasible? Wow, these guys are good, man, it's like.
That's my story. I don't know if they can do it or not. I'm hoping.
So you think it's something that was there and when the liner was formed?
You know, have you guys seen a liner put in? Some of you may have.
Yeah.
I have seen
Yeah.
a
It's
liner
Like
put
a
in.
sausage, right? They pull
Yeah,
it, it
it's
comes
awesome.
backwards.
Yeah.
Anything
Now
could be
imagine
behind it.
after they've cleaned it or something fell off the roof onto the ground, they pulled across it, now it's stuck under the liner.
Oh,
That's-
when they installed it.
So that's why you can't see it, because it's under the
Yeah, and
liner?
that's why we can't move it.
And that's
It's-
why you can't move it?
But it's discolored because I think with all the flow and stuff hitting it and the slime that's built on it,
Maybe
How
a
deep
manhole-
is it?
manhole pipe burst.
Ed, how deep is it there?
Gosh.
about 14 and a half feet.
So it has a bunch of zooglial matter on it.
All right,
It's
so
a mystery.
Are we on?
that's where we are right now.
Are we on 7C? Little musical chairs.
We're on 7B.
Oh, I know, I thought we were done with that.
Nope. Darren's going to give you a quick one on that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So, it was done. It was inspected after it was done. It looks good, everything is smooth. There was a sag in the pipe, which has been in existence all along.
That's near Stony Brook, right? The house?
Stony, across
Okay.
from,
Got it.
coming across the post road at the Stony Brook Pump Station, small sewer shed. It's on our list to look at more frequently because there's a sag. The camera went underwater when we did the inspection. But everything is smooth and we've never had a problem there before, so we'll keep an eye on it and we don't expect to have to do this again.
Approximately what was the length of that lining? Length? How much pipe?
To cross the post road, 4 lanes,
50 feet?
50, 60 feet. okay.
50 feet, good guess.
And this is when we excavated, manhole, excavated down, sanitary force main on the other side.
Wow. You should be careful.
And we didn't see that pipe, which I thought we were fortunate, so.
Yes, we paid somebody to mark it out in a abundance of caution that was warranted. And the company that marked it out had a high degree of confidence of where the force main was, and we avoided it.
Cool.
Okay. Now we're on to 7C.
I am recused from item 7C.
I do believe the chairmanship has to be passed to
Vice
Sir?
Chair.
Mr. Vice Chair and Commission members. Thorndale Circle update. We did get the third-party engineer the information to start the review a little over a week ago. She has performed the initial review, had gone through the plans and the documents already. Has some items to review with her staff members as part of their discussion. They do talk about internally any things that they believe to be, maybe things that either need to be looked at differently or are being looked at differently to discuss. She also has a few questions. She feels she's like to, and I think she's going to reach out to the engineer for clarification on a few items. So there's just 2 little pieces right now, moving pieces, that she's working on.
What was the scope of their study? I mean, where did they take it from where to where? Did they start at Stony Brook Pump Station backwards?
All the way to the pump station.
Okay, that's cool.
They're currently doing meter flows out there too.
Great.
One in the park and one
Did we
in
have
our.
that meter running when Sedgwick popped?
No.
Okay.
They put it in 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
See where I'm going.
Maybe a month.
Love to know how it breathes, the whole system.
I just want to know what they're using for RDI. That's what they need to tell me. What are they using? And it can't be and I'm not going to just accept a 1.2 storm, because that doesn't make sense to me. So they need to explain to me what they're doing in terms of that document that the EPA put out. How are they looking at it? Because that will make me feel more comfortable.
Okay.
There must be a piece of their little equation that deals with that
I think
somewhere.
it's great that that site is close enough to our point of concern, and they can look at it from here to here.
Right.
And give us an idea how that all works. I think that's great.
You mean point of concern being Stony Brook?
Yeah, and then that's the,
Yeah.
right, where a lot of stuff comes
Yeah.
at a certain time.
I mean, the good thing about Stony Brook is we have daily flow
Yeah.
analysis for that
Yeah.
whole system, with or without a rainstorm, and it's not like we need a flow metering for
'Cause you have
the
it.
area, because we have it.
Yeah, which is cool.
And so does Arcadis.
And that's exactly what Mr. Oben, the RDI stuff is what he's pointing out as well in his letter, right? Okay.
Yeah, well, on this one, I would be interested in holding tanks, off-hour pumping, holding tanks having grinder pumps, a high level and a high level connected with a visual alarm, an audio alarm, and connected to the alarm system.
Are holding tanks proposed? Or you haven't seen it yet?
The report?
Well, is the report that we're talking about a capacity study?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, it's not their proposal?
Is a sanitary sewer analysis and site design plans. It's their proposal.
Okay.
so the
I
site
didn't see
design
any-
plan is where you would see holding tanks?
I didn't see any holding tanks on that,
Okay.
part of their design.
And then, so they'll discuss why they don't think they're necessary.
If that's what you folks want to hear.
Is that what you want to hear?
Yes.
Yes, I would say yes.
Get rid of 3 sump pumps and there are no issues. It's just so,
Is that?
Which 3?
doesn't matter. Pick them. It's,
Is that, can we go to 7D? Is that, we done with?
7D?
yeah.
Okay, then we need
Yeah, I'm
our
done.
fearless leader.
What?
Want me to do D?
Yes, please.
So we still haven't gotten anything on 18 to 20. Commission recalls we were looking for a capacity analysis there to make sure that the existing developer sewer had the capacity to handle the extra lot within the sewer shed area on Locust Hill. We did get some business information, which we haven't reviewed yet, nor do we know the source of it, but we believe that the original developer has provided that information to us.
Is that Diggy Kamernick? Yeah.
Yes. So, but we're still waiting on the engineering part of it, which is what the commission asked for. We haven't seen that yet.
Cool.
Is this one where you feel you might need to have somebody come in and be a third-party review? Is this
I don't know, this is kind of small.
It's a small, okay.
It's one extra house.
The total amount of connections possible, I think it's under a dozen houses, and there's a 2-inch line, I believe, so that, maybe it doesn't warrant it, but we're gonna have an engineer come up with some calculations, and I think we could probably easily review that.
Okay.
Thanks.
That it for the superintendent's report? All right.
Unless you wanted to mention the rain gauges.
Any new business?
Yes.
Gauges under
Okay,
superintendent's.
Mr. Hill has.
Can we
What was the
can we
nature?
extend the
Yeah.
superintendent's report one more item?
Yes, please.
Oh, you want me to do it? No.
Well, you did it.
I did do it. About a year ago, I like to say I recall mentioning it to you folks, but I can't say that honestly. The health department had asked for the use of our rain gauges
Oh, cool.
for their use for coastal. I did send it to them at that time. They asked for it again
It's data, share it.
I
Data,
just- I
share-
just-
share your
Well, they need
data.
to access like you have, the flow.
I love it. Now that I know how to work it.
But I wanted to make sure you folks know I did give it to them.
Oh, it's
I had to give them a
totally-
password and a username because I obviously couldn't get it to work last time. And that was their request as of last week, so I did provide them that information again.
Absolutely.
Do they have a change in staff coming? Is David retiring?
He's
David
retiring, I
is-
think,
yeah.
the end of June.
And is Mindy gonna take over?
Well, we know that yet.
I don't know.
Nice people there.
Okay, now, I'm done. Thank you.
What's the nature of your new business, sir?
97 Lee Ward,
Okay.
should be less than 2 minutes.
I would like a motion to go into new business to discuss 97 Leeward.
Yes.
And
Do I
give
have
Bob
a
2
second?
minutes. 2 minutes to Brandon, to
La-
Senator Hill.
First and second, all those in favor? We are in new business to discuss.
Last meeting, you brought up 97 Lee Warden because it was discovered in 2008 that it wasn't being built and was still not being built, so we, as a commission, decided to claw back 3 years. I contacted Penny and asked her if there was an as-built for that location, and she said no. Usually when we go back like that, we do ask for as-builts of the lateral, so I would so move that.
That we get a
Ask them to do
as-built. Oh, I think that
It's a no-brainer.
is a no-brainer.
Good
yes.
catch, too.
I second it.
Any further discussion on the motion to require an as-built for 97 Lee Warden to complete the permit file?
First,
Yeah,
second?
Yeah,
Yep.
Bill Cam.
yep.
Well, that's assuming there's a permit.
Well,
There was, they went out and checked, didn't they?
Okay.
Didn't, no.
There was a
seven.
motion to ask for an
Yeah.
as-built. Bill
Yes,
Cam.
I'll go back, I'll amend that, an as-built and a permit if there is not one existing as of now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we're in
second.
We're in discussion, so do you have anything to add to the discussion as we're talking about this? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Yep,
Unanimous?
Got it.
it's a good catch.
Thanks.
Should've rewatched the meeting,
Thank you.
too.
Thank
Didn't you watch it twice?
It's so riveting.
Well, it wasn't long, was it?
No,
Right.
31,
It was a short
Not like
31
that.
minutes. Oh, just, and maybe that's the way it's done, I haven't seen, but when you go in executive session, do you have to come back and say that the meeting's over? It just went blank.
So we,
Pre-announced.
I know you do here, but do you have to do that on the video, or no?
so occasionally, when we can orchestrate things to have executive session at the end of the meeting, we tell Channel 79 that they can go home because we won't conduct any business other than closing the meeting when we come back.
Okay.
People
And
get a
so
blank
it's just,
screen.
you know, they don't know if we're going to be 10 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes, so.
I just didn't know how legal the video was supposed to be, that's
Well,
all.
the video's not the record.
Okay.
The minutes are the record.
That answers that.
Peter?
well,
Did you want to bring up something?
I've been, I don't think I need to.
Oh, man, it sounds tempting. For you? This
I
is-
don't think I
business?
need to.
You're really, you gotta do it, man, if you're feeling it.
If you're feeling it, if you,
Well, the nature of the new business was the general
Yes,
discussion on peer reviews for new requests, not specific. I think at the end, your discussion got around to,
The same thing you would have quickly?
yeah, or well, not to say it that way, you know, but let's go to new business so I can at least say what was on my mind. So, do I
We're
let
still
you
in
go?
new.
We're in new
we're
business.
Oh, we're in new business.
Yeah.
So, look, when something gets submitted to DPW, it's a public document, so at that point, it can be shared. You know, the way building and P&Z and EPC do it now, it automatically goes up online and anyone can look at it. So the idea that the document can be shared with the commissioners, I think is in line with it being a public document. And I'm glad you will have the authority to decide when you can initiate a peer review, because ultimately that's going to be paid for by the applicant, not the sewer users. I think the one thing we have to be careful of in terms of our comments back to Ed or Darren is that we can't have reply all emails, because that starts to look like a unnoticed meeting.
Okay.
So you're basically going to have to keep your comments to yourself and staff in a one-way direction, and we can't get into, you know, group email chains.
That's the same in P and Z.
Yeah.
It's always between you and Jeremy.
So
Yeah.
so that's all I wanted to add to the discussion.
You're right about that.
Okay.
So,
Oh, did we actually need a vote a vote of confidence that he could do that?
No, he's all set.
No.
Okay.
We authorize it. You can do whatever you want.
All right. Sorry, I lost track.
If you want to hire somebody, hire them.
I'll give it to you.
well, if you put that on as a separate agenda item next time, we can take a vote, just so it's
Yeah.
clear in the minutes.
Do you want to vote on that?
I like the idea.
It would just tie a bow to it.
I'll move out of other business.
Oh, we can
Want to
do
vote?
it, yeah, on a general item, we can do it as a new business item right now, yeah.
Yeah, right, as a new
And
business
I don't think
item.
you have to leave because it's a general
Yeah,
item.
yeah.
I
The commission-
will
yeah, go ahead.
make a motion that as deemed appropriate by staff, they can and should and could and would hire any peer review necessary to move the process further and present such evidence with the applicant's evidence to the commission at the earliest time convenient.
That's very weird.
But it's
That's a
good.
good
Not at all.
Excellent
You
motion.
you like it? You
I can't
second it.
wait to see that written down next month.
I'll second it.
You can watch the video
Any
like you
further
did.
discussion on the motion? All those in favor? All right,
All right, Peter?
your leg clear.
Ed can do it.
All right, now, is new meetings, is new business formally closed?
Yes.
Ah,
It would have only been 2 minutes, but
Hey.
Craig had it.
can I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting?
Second?
All those in favor? All right. Goodbye, Channel 79, thank you for your service.
I don't want to get thrown under the bus.